everybody. This is Debbie from Spooky Things. I hope everything's going well with everybody out there. Tonight, I have a guest that's returning back to the show, and a lot of people were thrilled with the last time he was here, me on top of everybody. Mr. Ralph Sarchi. Hi, Ralph.
Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Hi, Debbie. How are you?
I'm doing good. Y- we had such a really, people were so interested in what you had to say the last time. And I've had a lot of people ask for, when you were coming back. And so as soon as I thought, okay, I won't be bugging him now for a second time, I'll go ahead and ask him now.
Oh, it's
So
been a
I'm
while,
so
right?
glad. It has. It's been, well, about a year. It's been about a year since you were on the last time.
Yeah.
So everything going good down where you are?
Yeah, everything is good here in Florida. Beautiful state.
Mm-hmm.
Weather has
It
been
is.
real good to us. So, I really can't complain.
Yeah, you're more south than where I am, but it's uh it's been like really weird. Florida weird weather up here. But then again, Florida's always weird weather. That shouldn't
Yeah.
surprise any of us. Um okay, so you've had a lot of things going on within the last year. The last time we talked about, of course, um, the movie Deliver Us from Evil and the book that you wrote, Deliver Us from Evil. And that's always fascinating. Um, what's been going on here lately with what's been going on with Ralph?
Oh, that's boring. You want me to bore your audience? Uh,
You're not boring.
well, right now I'm just taking care of dealing with some cases, predominantly
Hmm.
from Europe, which
Really?
creates a lot of problems because of the distance. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of people from Europe contacting me with difficulties, and it seems the shape of the church in Europe isn't really that good. So
Mm.
these people are left without any kind of recourse because I can't help them, from here. That's what I'm predominantly dealing with right now. Lots of uh, lots of mental illness cases and things of that nature. You know,
You know, it's interesting because it just seems like those cases are getting harder and harder. There seems to be more of them. Um, and you can't really say, oh, well, it's due to the fact that, we've got media now and, there's more publicity on it. No, it just seems like people are getting crazier to me.
well, you know, years ago, Father Martin had said something to me about, along the lines of, "I'm probably going to see a rise in child possession." And
Really?
the only question I asked him is why? Why is that going to happen? And his answer was, it's going to be a chastisement towards the parents because they're not teaching their children about God. So he's going to
Mm.
chastise them in that manner. But I never asked him any further questions to elaborate on anything else. And I believe at this particular point, and right now it's just a theory of mine.
Hmm.
Um, I believe that this transgenderism is a form of
Hmm.
demonic possession that manifests itself in mental illness. You got to understand, many times a genuine case of possession, the person possessed will sometimes act as if they're mentally ill. So it does go along the lines because it's going to be, of course, it's. I'd like to say that it'd be misdiagnosed, but it's not even being diagnosed. It's being celebrated um, by a certain portion of society to the point where
It's
they're
true.
trying to force it on every single living, breathing, thinking, rational person that they must accept this, this transgenderism and celebrate it on top of everything, which sort of goes against a lot of people's religious beliefs,
It
mine
does.
included. So, if you look at the phenomenon of transgenderism, it mocks God because they're basically telling God, "No, you made a mistake. I'm not a male. I'm a female," and vice versa.
Hmm.
So that it mocks God, and it throws the person with this transgenderism into a chaos, and the soul is completely lost at that point. As a matter of fact, the person loses themselves, which makes it more and more dangerous. They don't even know who they are or what they are. And that does not come from God. That has to come from the devil. There's no other place for it to come. So I believe that and I could be wrong. I'm thinking about the
Mm,
alternative is to have actually little children running around possessed, which is not,
yeah,
something that I would want to deal with on any level.
I agree with you. But what you're saying actually does make a lot of sense into the fact that when you when you hear about these people that are experiencing this transgender situation, it is what they say a lot of times. I'm so lost. Um, they speak about how they don't feel like they fit in. They go one way, they don't feel like they fit in there. They go the other way, they don't feel like they fit in there. They don't feel like they fit in anywhere. And what they're trying their best to get where they feel comfortable fitting in, and that's got to be a miserable feeling, you know.
Well,
Uh,
that's pretty much what it is. It's a feeling. That's what they're
mhm.
going on. Uh, you know, they're not living by their intellect. They're living by their psyche.
Oh,
When you
it's
live by
true.
your intellect, you have a rationale, a sort of wisdom. When you live by feelings, you're living by the seat of your pants, as far as I'm concerned, because I've always said over the years that when I investigate a case, I try to remain emotionally unattached, because when you start to feel, that's when you make mistakes. That's when the devil
Oh,
can
you're
get
right.
you, through your feelings. You know, he gets us through our five senses. And if he gets us through our feelings, then we're pretty much going to wind up making bad decisions and facing the consequences for those decisions. So, that's what I see. The transgender community, I believe they have the highest suicide rate at 40%. That's pretty high
Oh,
as far as I'm
yeah, it
concerned.
is.
What that
Yeah, it
is sort
is.
of like that is sort of like the last act that seals the deal, for that soul. Chances are that soul isn't going to end up with God. Even though I feel that somebody who has a mental illness, then really not held responsible for their actions as far as that's concerned, because they can't make the decision of what's right and what's wrong. I believe transgender folks, they can understand the difference between what's right and what's wrong. It's not a deliberating mental illness. They're functioning, but just not quite the way society wants us to function as a productive member of society, instead of
Right.
running around talking about pronouns and forcing yourself upon people who are out there just trying to earn a living, you know.
Exactly. I mean, I know me growing up. It's just something you didn't talk about. Husband and wife, male and female. You didn't go around telling your neighbors about what went on in your bedroom. It was nobody else's business. It's I mean, there was no need to discuss it. But all of a sudden, it's like everybody wants to talk about who's with who, and I don't want to know it. I don't want to know it anymore, and I want to know what this man and his wife are doing in their bedroom. I don't. That's not for me to know. So
Yeah.
that's one of the main issues that I have is don't tell me about it, and you sure don't go to my kids and talk to my kids about it or my grandkids about it. It's
Well, it's
that
not
that
it's not
ugh,
for no
ugh.
reason that the sin the sin that people committed the most that send them to hell are sins of the flesh. So, and I also believe that without going into great detail, and I can, but not for this. Well, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't even go into that direction because without explaining it totally, people might get the wrong idea. But you know, when you look at that I believe it was the three shepherd children from Fatima that made the statement that the people in hell were there for sins of the flesh, um, or the most people or the most souls there were due to that reason, that there had to be something deeper as far as that sin is concerned. And I believe that, sins of the flesh were basically the foundation of the sin of Adam and Eve in the garden. I don't believe
Hmm.
it had to do with the knowledge of good and evil. I believe it had to do with something else. And I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to go any further with that because it
Okay.
take a long time to explain how I came to that particular theory or thought. Sorry.
Well, no, I can completely understand that. Um, it's to me, it's kind of like a crazy mixed up world that we even have to have that on the table.
Well, it's
I mean,
it, it's always been mixed up and crazy. It's just that it was covered up better because there was
it's
a
true.
consequence and a stigma, a societal stigma attached. I'm pretty sure that back in the day, in the 30s, the 40s, probably going back to the 1800s, that there was
Right.
people that were cross dressing, but they did it in their own home. They weren't doing it outside. They certainly weren't doing it online and posting it on TikTok. Things are different these days. It's been a systematic and constant drip of immorality. And when the Second Vatican Council came in, the Catholic Church is the teaching, the moral teaching authority. And when the Catholic Church starts to water down its dogma, then you start to get an erosion within society itself, and that's what we've seen over the past 50 years with the Second Vatican Council. And you're
Yeah.
looking at the culmination of that in Bagaglio in Rome, who is actually, verbally going against the dogma of the Catholic Church, and he's creating a lot of chaos and confusion, and that's exactly what the devil wants:
Wants.
chaos and confusion.
Right.
Communism doesn't communism doesn't create. The only thing communism brings is chaos and destruction. If you look at if you look at Russia, back in
back
the
in
20s
the
and
20s
30s,
and 30s,
you'll
mhm,
see the
you'll
beautiful
see the
cathedral
beautiful
buildings that they had, and even France
right.
and the other countries. But I use Russia because they were taken over by the communists, and they destroyed all of that, all of those beautiful, architectural buildings, and they've built monstrosities in its place. Square cement, no aesthetics that are pleasing to the eye. That's what communism is, because communism is a plan of the devil, and that's what he's using to bring about the Antichrist event. I'm convinced of that. I've
Hmm.
discussed this with Father Martin at great length. The only thing that Father Martin could not tell me was a time frame, and I never thought in all my years back in the day when I was still learning and researching about this stuff that I would ever live to see as much as I have seen so far. Depending on how long God decides to keep me on this earth, that'll depend on how much of it I actually get to see. But
Yeah.
I still have hope. The Blessed Mother had promised us that in the end, her Immaculate Heart will triumph, and we'll have a period of 50 years of peace on this earth. I'm hoping that that's how I can live the last half of my life. But when I said to Father Martin, all I want is a peaceful life, he said that's something that you're not going to have. You know,
Wow.
so that sort of tells you uh, where where we're
Nowhere
headed.
near it. Yeah.
He knew I was going to see
Yeah.
something. You know,
It does look like it's on a downhill spiral. I mean, and it's not something that just you and I are seeing or just in our communities that we're seeing it. I mean, this is a worldwide thing, and it's just getting crazier all the time. It's scary. It
well,
really
if you
is.
think
Um,
if you're a student of history and you've studied a little deeper than what you'd learn on a high school level, you'd see that throughout history, there have been a lot of bad people on this earth, and they've done a lot of really, really horrific things.
oh yeah,
If if the book of the Apocalypse, according to St. John, which is the book of Revelations, to you King James Version readers, you know, if that is, we're told that in the end times, it's going to be worse than at any point in the history of humanity. Well, it's not a wonder that we're warned in scripture that it says that the living will envy the dead. That's not a statement that should be taken lightly. There's
no,
going to be an awful lot of suffering in this world. And I'm not just talking about Europe or Africa or
right,
Asia. I'm talking about the whole entire world collectively. It's the only way that the Antichrist can rise to power is if the whole entire world is in the crapper. The way he's going to come onto the scene is he's going to have all the answers, and he's going to make things better for a short period of time. And then the persecution will begin.
scary thing to think about.
Yeah, but you see, if you do it
It,
right, there's only one place to go, and that's up.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, as parents, of course, we sit back and we think, we worry about our children, we worry about our grandchildren, and what kind of a world that they're going to be living in. And I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of young people. They're like, I'm not even going to have children. It's scary out there. I don't want to subject my children to it. Um, I don't want to subject grandchildren to it. So if my kids decide not to have kids, I'm all for it. And that really makes me sad to hear that because there's so much joy. in your children and in your grandchildren. Um, I think that people are just really they're they're not allowing themselves that pleasure of being
Yeah, but
around those kids, but they're
don't you
serious about it.
don't you understand? What did God tell us? Be fruitful and multiply. They're doing the
Yeah,
exact opposite. That's coming from the
you're right.
devil. That's not coming
You're
from
right.
God. And I'll tell you something. I'll be honest with you. I told my daughters, don't have kids. Don't bring kids into this world. My oldest daughter looked at me like I had a dozen heads because now she's got five kids. There's the fifth one's on the way. So she didn't listen to me
Oh,
for nothing. The younger one so far, I think she's going to listen to that. My kids don't listen to me. You know, I have strangers that listen to what I have to say. My own kids, they don't they don't want to talk to me. You know, what am I going to
no.
tell them? Get to church, get to mass. You going to mass? Bring my grandsons to mass. They're four boys, and we have a girl coming. So I
Oh,
know that she's going to be well protected, having those four crazy little boys with Saatchi blood coursing through their veins, protecting her. So I worry about them, but I do the best that I can. I pray for them. That's the only thing that we can do, is trust in God. We have no other choice. Well, you
exactly.
do. You have another choice. You can totally ignore them, but you're not going to have any recourse. There isn't going to be anybody interceding for you. You're going to miss out on all those graces.
Yeah, no, that's not an option for me. I don't ignore him at all. Um, yeah, and the way I see it is that, thanks to his graces, I have the children that I have. I have those beautiful grandchildren that I have. And I give thanks to him every day because there's such blessings in my life. And if there's anything that I've done right in the world, it comes from them. It really does. So now I'm very blessed to have the family that I have. And they make me nuts, totally, but
But just
keeps
just
life
think about it.
interesting.
Just think about it. God created everything. All right.
Hmm.
Um, the devil doesn't create anything. The devil cannot
Right?
create. He can imitate, but he can't even imitate perfectly. There's always got to be
Right.
something amiss. He cannot
Off.
recreate what God created. But here's the thing: what does God do? He gives us the ability to create, also becoming co creators with Him. That's one of the many reasons why the devil hates us so much is because we can actually create something, you know, um, and he can't. But just think of the awesome grace that is to be able to bring a child into this world and create, another being that's going to
Right.
hopefully eventually grow and create another human being, and so on and so forth. And that's a beautiful thing, actually. you know but
It sure is.
why would I give my daughters the advice of not bringing children into this world? Because I don't want to see them suffer. My kids are already here. There's
Yeah.
nothing I could do about that. But now my grandsons are here, and my granddaughters should soon be here. And you go on, I entrust them under the protection of God, and that's it. And I pray. That's all I can do.
Well, a lot. Steffi loves pandas. Hey, always glad to hear Sir Ralph Art Sir Ralph Sarchie. Love
Yeah.
listening to you each time you're on the show. That's sweet. Um, one of the ways that I see it is, you know what? The children that are having children today, hopefully they're a little bit smarter than we are, and hopefully they're going to turn back to the church. They're going to That was one of them right there. They're going to be smart enough to turn back to the church, and they're going to be listening better and trying to reverse some of the stuff that we negligently let go by us. And you know, I think my kids are pretty smart, and I think they're going to do really good at raising these grandkids. And I honestly think that a lot of this comes from within the homes themselves. The kids have got to be led to the church. They're not just going to blunder across it aimlessly. Very rarely do they. It usually comes from inside the home, with the parents teaching the children about God, about the importance of God being in their lives. And some parents are very, very attentive on that, and then others just don't have the time, Ralph. It's not important, and it shows. It's showing today in today's society. It is showing. I truly do believe that.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm in the
It's,
traditional Catholic Church, and I get the church that I'm going to now. I've been there coming on 4 years now, and it has grown since
oh, that's
since
impressive.
I have gotten there. And I go to more than one church. I go to another church that's actually in Orlando, and that church has grown also to the point where I'd have to stand in the back. I'm not sitting while some little old lady's standing. It's not going to happen. So, I'd be standing in the back of the church, but it wasn't always like that.
Right.
And I've seen the change, and from what I understand, I there's a lot of statistics out there, and a lot of the young kids are sort of gravitating towards the traditional Catholic Church. Now, Jesus said that the gates of hell shall not prevail against her, the church. When he says the gates of hell, he's making a reference to not the actual gates of hell, but he's making a reference to apostate priests, the priests that are leading the church down the wrong
Mm-hmm.
path. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm no longer within it. I'm in the traditional Catholic Church, and there is nothing other than that. And a while back, I made a statement. I put it on my Facebook page actually that it was probably last year sometime that Bergoglio is going to eventually set his sights on the traditional Latin Mass, and he's done that. The problem is he can only affect the traditional Latin Mass within the Roman Church. There are millions outside of it in the traditional Catholic Church, in
Mm-hmm.
the St. Pius X, St. Pius V, the Congregation of Mary, the independents that are out there, the Catholic traditional movement. There's a whole bunch of um, independently run traditional Catholic churches that Bergoglio has no control or authority over. So I had made the mention that he's going to have to go outside to the secular authorities. And I don't know if you remember, sometime last year, it had come out that the FBI was now setting its sights on the traditional Latin Mass. And
Yeah.
when Congress had got Chris Ray, that lying piece of crap, you know, before them, he denied, oh, no, we don't do it. But we know that they've already started probing. So it you can now see how Bergoglio can go up against the traditional Catholic Mass. It'll eventually go underground. It'll be forced to go underground. So
Right.
we're going to enjoy it while we can.
Hmm.
That's the future.
Wow.
When this is going to happen, again, like Father Martin, I don't know. I don't know when it's going to happen,
Yeah.
but it will happen.
How sad. I mean, I don't
It's
know.
devastating. It's devastating.
It is. I mean,
Cheer
to
up.
me,
Cheer up, people. Right? Cheer up.
yeah.
All
To
right. Let's.
me,
We
I
better
just look at it like
lighten it up. We better lighten it up here a little bit, or your audience is gonna they're gonna start crying.
everybody drink a beer. It's all right.
Or a
The
scotch.
way
Have a
that I see
scotch.
it, or scotch.
Forget the
Yeah,
beer.
just screw it. Just go
Have
straight
a
for the
shot.
scotch.
Have a shot.
The way I see it, everybody just needs to just keep on trucking in the right direction. Do what you think is the right thing to do. Do no harm to others. Do the best for your family. Try to follow God's word as well as you can. We're not perfect, but I just think that's just, and that's the way it's been as long as I can remember. We've never strayed off of that path. We just keep on doing the way that you think it's right to do.
Well,
So,
I'd like to add in there that do no harm to others, but harm those who are going to harm somebody else. That's my philosophy.
yeah,
You're not going to hurt somebody, and I'm
it's
going to
true.
stand there and watch it.
No.
I'm going to get involved in it. Now I'm getting old. You know, I'm getting old real quick. But I go to the range and I'm starting to practice wholeheartedly. You know, to get myself back into shape because these things there's going to be
It's
trouble
crazy
coming.
out there. It's crazy out there.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I did not want anything. I'm actually a pretty good shot, but for years, I would not touch a gun for years. I'm terrified of them. Absolutely terrified. And my sons were both like, "Mom, let's get real. You got to protect yourself." And you're getting older. It's not like you can, go up and then spar up against some 20-year-old. He's right, but I can't shoot
Well,
him.
it
I
it
can
it is a
definitely
it's a
shoot him.
it is a perishable skill. You have to keep practicing at it. You
Yeah.
gotta you gotta realize that every time you go and practice shooting, you're not under
Hmm.
stress. Nobody's trying to cause you harm,
That's true.
and you behave
That is
very, very
true.
differently under those
Yes, you do.
conditions. So you're going to
Yeah.
lose all your fine motor skill. If you start doing all these little intricate John Wick stuff, twisting guns around, you're going to forget it. You're going to wind up getting killed. Keep
You're
it
going to be dead.
simple. Keep it simple. Keep it on target, and make sure that you're very conscious of where your rounds are going to go and who's behind you.
Yeah.
Or who's behind the person that you're looking to shoot. If it comes down to that situation, and from what I see, that they're not sending in their very, very brightest and best from these other countries. They're emptying out their prisons and their insane
Oh, yeah.
asylums, just like the Cubans did in Miami. But this is
Oh,
on a
remember
worldwide
that?
scale.
Oh,
And they're just sending all of these mentally ill and, criminal
yeah.
elements out into the world and unleashing them and giving them protected status. In in fact, so much protected that they're putting them first before citizens in this country. It leads me to believe one thing: the powers that be, the globalists, are looking for us to um, have mass civil unrest so they can declare martial law, and we won't have any more elections after that point. It'll be a sealed deal. Uh,
We were worrying about that actually after the last election, remember?
well, I see
Yeah.
us traveling in that direction. Nothing has
Yeah.
gotten better; it's gotten worse. I'm seeing more and more of
Yeah.
our freedoms being eroded, and I'm seeing more and more of the politicians getting more brazen in violating our Constitution in public, saying that they're doing it, and absolutely nothing is done to them. They're lying in Congress when you have a whole group of people that have been languishing in jail for 3 years without a trial, and then you got another other groups of people coming in lying and being proven liars, and there's no consequences to it. That is not a fair system of justice. It's a two-tiered system of justice that only the devil could create. We're created equal, right?
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to be, but
Well, we're
being up
created
in North,
we're created
uh,
equally spiritually, but not physically. You know, there's a
yeah,
distinction.
I've seen a lot of that as well. Being up here in North Florida, because I'm from South Florida, Homestead area, hey, Homestead, which is south of Miami, even. Um, and I didn't really see it as much down there, but up here, and this is sad. I have noticed that this area is pretty much the prison systems up here are prevalent. And it seems like the communities are operating around the income being brought in by the prison systems because some of them are actually being run privately, private companies. It's not just state prisons or federal prisons, it's private institutions as well. And it just seems like, I swear, Ralph, I swear, if you fart, you'll go to jail. It's just up here, you hardly know of a family, hardly know of any family. You can walk up to anybody on the street, says, anybody in your family ever been to jail, prison? Yep. There's not one person I have actually talked to. And I've asked that question to them. They go, no, nobody in my family. Everybody, literally everybody has said, yeah, they've been there. And
Yeah, I've been there too. But we're not going to go into
see,
that.
but it's true. But it's true. And but North Florida is very, very, very. I mean, it's just something that's just so common up here, and it's all worked on monetary games. It's money, Ralph. It's all money.
Well, I
It's
tell you, compared to New York, I feel much better living in Florida than I do in New York. New York is probably one of the worst states for the loss of rights. And I keep telling my daughters, get the hell out of there, move. That the governor
are they
just
still
signed into
there?
law that
Mm.
they could go into anybody's house without a warrant, pull anybody they want out of there, and put them in a facility.
What?
You know, yeah, yeah, that was just passed. The beauty that is the governor of New York just passed that law.
Wow.
So I'm going to have to dust off all of the equipment and go get whoever they've taken. And I'm too old for that crap. So I told them instead of creating that kind of mess, move down here
Just
or
move.
move out of New York. Go to Texas. I don't care. Go to Texas if you want. Just get the hell out of New York. It's no good anymore. It's done.
Now, is that like New York City or New York
New
State?
York State.
New York State. That I was talking about where they are. Um, because I know New York City's crazy. Nobody would know that better than you, being in the front lines in New York City, being a police officer. I don't even see how you did that. Really,
Well,
that would terrify me.
that's one of the reasons why I dislike Giuliani so much. Uh, you know, it was under his tenure actually that we were able to
Mm.
clean up New York. And he did it on the backs of the New York City Police Department. And when it came time for us to contract negotiate, he gave us 3 years of zeros. So I didn't get a raise for 3 years. So I have a little bit of a problem with Giuliani.
Yep.
You know the old saying, if he was on fire, I wouldn't, well, I wouldn't. Um, it's been a long time since I've been a Republican. I'm neither. I'm not a Republican nor a Democrat. I don't have a political party affiliation down in Florida. You don't have to have one. It's blank,
Right.
on my voter registration card. So, um, you know, I I'm of the mind that I don't like any party, to tell you the truth. I think they've all been there too
I don't
long,
either.
and they all need to go. Now I hear that 21 Republicans are retiring. Yeah, you know what? See, they see the writing on the wall that Trump is doing real good. Chances are, if the Democrats don't cheat, he's going to win. And they want to be gone before that happens, because I'm sure he's going to come in like a wrecking ball. He's going to be an incumbent president. He's not running again. What does he care at that point? He's going to have to
That's
come
true.
in. He's going to have to play some hardball, and he's going to have to clean it up. Just like we played hardball with the people in New York to clean it up, that's what he's going to have to do in Washington. It could be done. It's not going to be pretty, but it's got to be done that way. It cannot be reasoned with. There's no diplomacy when dealing with evil.
Oh, you're right about that. And I remember my sons and I were having a talk about it. This is back when he was running the first time. And we were talking about the different. This is when Hillary was trying to get in there. Um, and it's like I told my sons, I said, what America needs right now is an asshole. They do. Because they've tried diplomacy, they've tried being nice. Look where it's gotten us. So at this point, he probably fits the bill because he's like, I don't care. This is what needs to be done. I don't care who likes it. I don't care who gets mad about it. I
Yeah.
don't care.
Well,
And
a lot of people might say, well, what does this got to do with, demonology? What does this have to do with it? Well,
a
it,
lot,
it certainly does have a lot to do with it.
a lot.
Not everything is, telling you about scary cases and, hauntings and stuff like that. There are other aspects of, what we're dealing with. And in order to understand the big picture, you have to understand,
Right.
you know, its entirety, which means sometimes you got to step back and you got to look at it. A lot of times I don't feel like I'm a part of this world. I mean, we're told to do that anyway, but I feel odd, like I'm at odds with it. And that's the right feeling as far as I'm concerned. I embrace that. I don't push that feeling away. I want that, actually. I want to make that distinction that, I'm living here. I'm of this earth. I was made from the dust of this earth, but I'm not of it. I don't belong to it, and it doesn't belong to me. I belong to God. I belong to something much, much
Right.
bigger and much, much more powerful than just this earth, which is incredible if you really think about it. You know,
Yes, it
um,
is.
nature, the natural order God instituted, and there's no other place like it in our entire solar system. And you know what? You won't find it beyond either. There isn't anything out there.
It's
There is
true.
no intelligent life out there. We're it.
Very little intelligent life here.
That's, well, I was
So
going to say that's a scary thought. But you know what? I got to tell you
it
something.
is.
There, if you look at humanity, we've had some very, very brilliant people. Just look around you.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Look at
Oh
everything.
yeah.
Everything you see was invented by some person. Some person sat there, looked at nothing, and had an idea and made it. Just like God had an idea and made this earth. How you can believe that we've all gotten here out of nothing? It takes more of a belief system to believe that than to believe that we have an intelligent designer, a creator, it takes more faith to believe that we came out of nothing, so than to believe that there was, uh, an omnipotent God that had the ability to make just one human cell. Just the
Right.
just the science behind one cell is
Oh, it's
absolutely amazing. Look
amazing.
at DNA, you know,
Yeah.
and then go into all of the animal species we have out there, all of the plant life. It's incredible. How could you think that this just happened because something exploded a long time ago? It
Yeah.
created
Yeah.
order. Nothing explodes and creates order. There's always chaos in an explosion. So we didn't explode into anything, and we didn't crawl out of the sea like a little, a mud sucker. That didn't happen. We
But
didn't change species. There is no evidence that any species changed from one species to another. There's been micro evolution. The same species might adapt and change, but they're still the
right.
same species. You know,
Yeah.
um, you're not getting a man out of a monkey.
And this is another thing that's kind of along that line, sort of. People think, right, when you talk about demonic possessions, okay, people always think about demonic possessions as what is portrayed to them, well, on TV, these, exorcist kind of things that happen. They don't understand that there's other kind of possessions that are out there that don't look anything like that at all. And that I see happening is what we're talking about, what's happening in the world today. Um, Demonic possessions such as can invade your banking system. It can invade your, well, obviously, intelligence of people who make decisions, can sway people to make decisions that are really adverse to a lot of people. Um, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
It,
that
it,
wouldn't
it
be a possession. That would be an oppression, an inspiration that would not necessarily come from someone who is demonically possessed. That's just influence of the devil. It's in everything.
mhm,
And he uses our five senses to influence us. It's how he gets us to do all the things that we do.
right. Um, but people don't attribute what is happening to that situation that can occur. And so they'll, no, 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 that has nothing to do with it. Um, this is just the way that the world is evolving. This is the way that the world is, spinning into, and that has nothing to do with it.
Well, what was
I
the name of that?
disagree.
What was the name of that movie with the attorney and the serial killer who was possessed? Not nefarious. What was the name of that movie? Barbara.
Uh,
She's not even hearing me. It was just out not too long ago. It's not nefarious. There's another name for it. Um,
I know
uh,
what you're talking about, and
well,
I'm bad with movie names.
that movie, if your audience knows what I'm referring to, that movie was the closest to what a real exorcism is like, with the exception of violence. We'd have a lot of violence, but that was more reminiscent of what an exorcism is. It's a battle of wills between the exorcist and the demon.
The demon. Hmm.
So, yeah, of course, a lot of strange things happen during exorcisms over the years. They've been well documented, but that's not a consistent thing. Sometimes they're to be honest with you, sometimes they're boring.
Hmm.
There could be a long, there could be a long drawn out time between the time the exorcism starts and the pretense stage of exorcism is defeated or passed, and it can become monotonous after a while. So people's idea of, oh, the people are, they're levitating, they're vomiting, all kinds of
Right.
stuff that happens, but it's not the
Yeah.
norm. It's an exception.
Right. Um, but it's interesting because it can affect day to day goings on that's around us in the world today. And it's just it's pretty much like I talk with my family about it, and it's like so many people that experience things like this, they're inviting it. They're So many people invited it, and they're not even aware that they're doing it.
Mhm.
Um, the prevalent drug use that's out there, and it's like these poor kids are screwed up enough, and with all this drugs that they're using, it just messes with their minds, and it makes them weak in character. It makes them weak in their minds, and that is just like an open doorway
Well, you have to understand that
to.
there needs to be an intention in there at times, more times than not. There needs to be an intention to bring the demonic into your life, and that's through
Mhm.
ceremonial magic, witchcraft, Satanism,
Right.
voodoo, hoodoo, the whole array of all of the pagan religions and philosophies out there. Even the fact of doing transcendental meditation could be an opening, a doorway. I had cases like that myself, where people were dabbling innocently in the
Mhm.
occult, but having the attention to find answers outside of the natural order that God instituted. That's where the majority of those people make their mistake. Now, not everybody who does this stuff is going to be affected in that manner. We have a saying, therefore, by the grace of God go I, meaning, sometimes we do things out of ignorance, and, we need protection from those things, and God affords us those protections. But there are other times when that protection isn't there anymore, you know,
Yeah.
and it's it's the job of the exorcist or the investigator to look into it, to try to find out why. It needs to be addressed, it needs to be remedied, so, and that's why exorcism is set up the way it's set up. With the, everybody says, hey, it says in the Bible you're not supposed to communicate with spirits. Right, exactly. If you're communicating with that spirit for personal gain, if you're communicating with that spirit for hidden secret knowledge, if you're communicating with that spirit for financial gain, or if you're doing it to have power over your fellow human beings, that's what that means. Because in the Roman
Right.
ritual, the priest, the exorcist, must ask certain questions. Now, I see a lot. An example, I had posted one of Annalise Michelle's exorcisms on my Facebook page,
I
and
saw
there
that.
was questioning of the demon about Fatima, and when I first heard that, I sort of felt uncomfortable with it. I'm like, it's not a line of questioning that should be pursued. The only question that should be pursued is if it pertains narrowly and specifically to your case. If you start to go off into other areas, that's the devil's ground. Now you can find yourself in a trap. It didn't go very well for the priest, in Annalise Michelle's case. She wasn't freed. We know pretty much why she wasn't freed, but they suffered at the end. The priest and the mother and father, they were found guilty of criminally negligent homicide.
Yeah.
and received a suspended sentence, meaning they never went into prison. But there's a conviction on their record now. You know,
Yeah.
not that it meant much to the priest or the parents, but you get my idea. Hey,
I do.
my cat's acting up. So you didn't hear him back here scratching on the box
I
that I got under
did.
the bed there? You didn't hear that? I wanted to kill him. I got three of them in here, but there's only one in here now, and he's going after my religious statues. Simba, get off there. Get out of there.
I
See?
saw I saw it where the one was messing with the statue of Michael.
I can't do anything uh, without them. I go into the bathroom, they're breaking in.
Oh yeah.
If I latch the door shut, I see paws coming in. They're trying to undo the lock, so I gotta close it to where it's not latched, and then eventually they push it in like the FBI is coming in, and I'm like, I'm in the bathroom here. Um, and believe me, I took a lot of heat when the movie first came out because in the movie, my character hates cats, right? I hate cats.
Mhm.
I got a lot of people. Why do you hate cats? You hate cats? I'm like, nah, I don't. I don't hate cats. I have cats. I don't hate them. It was just something Scott did to, go along with the narration of the movie. There was a lot of things. I never murdered anybody either, so that I know
I
of.
was just gonna.
So I got these cats, and oh God, oh
I know I was
man,
gonna bring that up. The last time that we had talked, you said they turned me into a murderer. I
yeah,
never murdered
yeah.
anybody. I said, "Oh, I'm so
Scott,
sorry."
Scott, Scott wound up having a good talking point out of that. He got a good joke. He got a good chuckle out of it. Because we were in a diner, and we were discussing things, and that's when he told me, "Hey, they're probably going to change the title," and I got angry about it. I'm like, "What are you talking about? You already made me a murderer," and I said it loud enough that everybody was looking.
The whole diner just stops.
Everybody was, well, when you say murderer, murder in a diner, everybody's going to look, you know. Um, but it was sort of funny the way it happened, and I read it the first time. I remember I printed out there were a couple of about 100 and something pages, and I printed it all out, and I sat down to read it, and I'm reading everything, and I come upon that, and I'm like, what? I had to take a double take. I was like, what? So I let it go, and then I broke out a pen and I started to make notes. So I put a big question mark at that spot, like I need to ask God why he felt the need to make me a friggin' murderer. Like the NYPD didn't try to put me in jail for all of those 20 years. You got to do this now.
Does it ever end?
Oh my God.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh. Well, it was a great movie. It really
Thank
is
you.
scary as hell. It's
You thought it
scary as
was
hell.
scary?
Yeah, it was scary. Come on.
Well, I got to tell you, I watched movies. I always watch movies, for my whole entire life. And when I actually saw them make this, it's sort of
Hmm.
like room movies for me because,
Yeah, absolutely.
the things that I saw were not the things that came out on that screen, like
Yeah.
when Jimmy Tratner jumped through that window. Do you know what I'm
Yes.
talking about? He
Yes.
jumped
Hmm.
into the kitchen. There was a kitchen behind that window. They built a window frame in that doorway. And when he jumped through that, he jumped into the kitchen with a whole bunch of mats and stuff behind it. But when the movie came out, he jumped out of a window. Now,
Yeah.
so I'm like, I can't believe anything that I see anymore. You want to envision, wow, that's good stunt work. This guy jumped out the window. They had to have something down there from the breakers falling. No, he didn't jump through
He
any
was in the
windows.
kitchen.
It was just a frame. There was no glass in it or anything. He just jumped through it into the kitchen. That was it. That crawl space. There, there wasn't anybody up in that crawl space. They didn't come from that crawl space. So it was fun
But
to
it looked
watch,
great
but in
on
the
film.
same vein, it's like, oh man, they ruined me for movies. I'll never watch. I can't enjoy them now. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, well, I wasn't there when it was filmed, so yeah, it was scary.
Okay, all
There
right.
were some good parts to it. There really was. So it was some
They're
good
oh, I had to tell you something. They were
woo.
amazing. They really the way they put that together. You know,
Yeah.
um, we had
It
a
was a
they
good
took a
movie, Ralph.
house. They took a couple of houses over, and they recreated one of my daughter Christina's bedroom.
Hmm.
That bedroom scene was actually in Kaufman Studios in Queens. They built the whole thing. You could not tell the difference between the real place and the set that they built, even down to the
Wow.
cracks, even to the cracks in the walls. They had everything down pat. Um,
Wow.
it was incredible. It really was. I have to say, this is the talent that I'm speaking about. This God-given talent that He gives us for our benefit, to give us a release from the realities of life, to watch a movie, you know, and enjoy it for the 2 hours. The problem is that we now take the actors that we see and we put them on a pedestal above God. So
Yes.
all of these things that we're given by God, these talents, are being manipulated and turned upside down by the devil, because he's an expert at doing that. He's very dangerous.
Mm. Yeah, that is true. Ralph, you're amazing as always. As
No, I'm
always.
not. I'm a sinner, and that's all I am.
Yes, you are. Oh,
Ask my
fit
daughters
right
how
in.
amazing I am. They'll roll their eyes. Yeah, all right then.
My kids are the same way. Are you kidding? Sometimes I feel like Ma Barker around them, and I've told them that too. That don't make me into a Ma Barker over here. But they raise hell sometimes.
Oh, that's all right.
I've really enjoyed it, as always, having you on, Ralph. I just really
A-
enjoy having you on.
Anytime, Deb. Mark it on your calendar. There's another year, hopefully.
Well, hopefully, yeah.
Hey,
So, and it doesn't
Halloween's
have
coming
to be
around.
once a year.
You
Oh
can
yeah.
interview me
Can you
during
come back?
Halloween.
Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna get a date for you for Halloween because that would be a good because I want to hear some just spooky stuff from you around Halloween. All right?
Oh,
Because
just
I
read
know
my
you've
book.
seen it. Well, yeah, but I know you. Well, I do. Yeah. Um. All right. Halloween. We're gonna have you back around Halloween time because that'd be a great show.
Okay, God
Let's
willing.
round it off, Ralph. Oh, God'll be willing. Thank you again. We'll talk to you around Halloween, and because I'm gonna put you down in my book for around Halloween. And Ralph, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks for
You're
having
so
me on,
incredible. I
Debbie.
love
Thank you.
having you on here. Oh gosh, you're one of my just absolute favorites. And
You
to
gotta you
everybody
gotta
out
get
there
out
watching,
more, Debbie. You gotta get out more.
I
All right.
know, I know. You're telling me? God, I know. Gee,
Well,
I lead a
listen.
sheltered life.
You have a good night. All right, and stay
You
safe,
too.
everybody. God bless.
Bye bye. And
Bye
everybody
bye.
out there, you guys take care. This has been Mr. Ralph Sarchi on Spooky Things on the Webb Broadcasting Network. And also wanted to talk to you guys. Remember, we've got the Deep South Para Comic Con coming up, and that's going to be in October the 5th and 6th. And this is put on by the Webb Paranormal Group, Stan and Teresa Fikes. And awesome people, totally awesome people. You guys stay tuned. Next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, we'll be back. Until then, see you guys later. Bye bye.